Hi, my name is Braaaaaad Breeeeck, and in this video, I would like to show you a cue of music score from the show Glitch TECHS Season 2, the episode called Glitch Modder. I picked this cue because I think it has a little bit of everything as far as Glitch TECHS goes. There's some orchestral score, some kind of chiptune stuff, some rock stuff. I'll show you all of the instruments I use for this cue, a little bit about my template. I'll talk about how I approach writing a cue for the show, and other stuff. I hope you enjoy this video. Thank you for watching. Okay, so welcome to my ProTools session for Glitch Modder. Hopefully the name of this episode has not changed, but this is the name of the episode. When I worked on it, if you're curious, the episode production number was 111. Maybe that changed later, or I'm sure it's different in Netflix or whatever, but that's what it was when I worked on it. So this is my template for this episode. I removed all the instruments from my template that I didn't use for this cue just to make it simpler to navigate for this video, but you'll still be able to see the way my template is kind of structured. Maybe I'll do another video about my template later. Anyways, so I'll play through the whole cue and kind of jump around and show you the different instruments briefly so you can get an overview, and then I'll go back and show you piece by piece. I'll have the dialogue in here, but I'll have it low. If you want to hear the dialogue, watch the episode on Netflix. So here we go.
What? I looked it up. Salamanders don't eat seaweed. They're carnivores who prefer slow-moving prey. I thought you should know.
Oh, 5. You complete weirdo. Hey, you two. Give me those gauntlets.
Whoa, hang on! We're not giving you anything, you...
5, she's one of us. Kinda. There, your stupid tech is now signed to my modified code. Huh? You can fight my dragon kitty now. Thanks, Ridley. Don't thank me yet. I'm uploading some of my custom mods from Fire Age 4 into your gauntlets. This guy isn't gonna go down easy. Because I don't believe in shoddy craftsmanship.
your awesome lair.
Yeah. Me too. Ridley, just come to HQ with me. You could probably build all sorts of new stuff as a glitch tech. You'll just be weird with friends. Trust me, it's better. Sorry, Nico, but you're wrong. You think you have friends now, but trust me, they won't stick around.
Okay, so that's the cue. I tried to open up some of the plugins and instruments as I went through to show you what's going on. Some stuff you'll see I didn't open because those are hosted on my sampler machines. I have 2 PCs in a separate room that have most of my samples on them just to offload some CPU from my main machine. But I'll go into those and show you what I'm using as we go through. Okay, let's go through chronologically and I'll show you the different parts. So this first part, like the idea was, this kind of melodramatic, death scene, and it has this kind of cheesy, goofy piano part. So I'm using this cinematic studio piano, which is just a nice, straightforward piano sound. It's got a little compression from this, and it's going to this chamber. I'll try to do a separate video about my template at some point. My template changes for each show, but it's usually a similar type of setup. So I have different groups of instruments. Each different group of instruments, they bus. You can see this goes to keys poly. It buses to this aux up here, which feeds into my stem, so I can just print my stems, because when you deliver music for a show like this, you're not delivering a full mix of the music, you're delivering stems, so each section on a different track. My session is just set up so I can print my stems in Pro Tools. I don't really have to mix them or anything. It's just done, it's fast. Anyway, so each group of instruments has its own set of effects, usually just a bunch of reverbs and delays, and I can you can see I have these different right here, different sends. Most of these are grayed out because I kind of just turn the ones on that I feel like I need, turn the other ones off, and those also feed into that same, in this case, keys poly bus group, so the effects print with the group. Anyway, in this case I have this piano feeding to this chamber, Cello Studios chamber, which I use a lot and really like. And that's it. It's pretty simple, like pretty piano. It's supposed to just be kind of straightforward, kind of goofy. All right, and then moving on, we have. So this is the main instrument in this cue is this serum patch, which I call BB Mouse, kind of like Danger Mouse, because it reminded me of Danger Mouse type of patch. This patch I use a lot in the show. A lot of times, like for this scene in particular, I remember I just played this scene through and just improvised on this patch. And that's the way I would get into cues a lot in this show. And in a lot of shows, I'll do that, is just watch the scene and play an instrument. And I find if I do that, without even overthinking it too much, sometimes I'll react to the scene as a viewer and hit the different beats kind of naturally. And that's kind of the way I like to get into cues when I can. Sometimes I won't even have a click track in place. I'm pretty sure for this, I didn't even have a click track set up. I just played along with this instrument. Then after the fact, I tapped through it with a metronome and found the kind of average tempo and set a tempo after the fact, and then kind of just cleaned things up a little bit, maybe cleaned up a couple notes. But for me, that's a really fast way to get into a scene. It's intuitive, and I feel like, for me, I respond emotionally, naturally, and kind of find the shape of the scene. And it's surprising how often I'll do that, and the first pass, I'll have hit everything, the emotion will be pretty close, and all I have to do is clean it up and then add orchestration. That's just to say, to illustrate that sometimes you don't have to sit and think for a long time about what's the music going to be in this section. Sometimes you can just sit and react to the scene with an instrument and find it. So I use this instrument a lot for that, because it's like playing piano, it's polyphonic, also responds to velocity, so I can shape it dynamically. This is going through a lot of the cue. But so it's this very simple serum pluck thing, some OTT on there to make it sound, here's without the OT. A little muddier, right? Not as clear. Kind of opens it up a little bit, makes it a little more exciting. And then I have this serum effects, which I guess I could have done in serum, and this is just doing some bit crushing. You can hear it already has some bit crushing on it, so this isn't doing a lot. So then under that, I have this pad. And this is another instrument that I use a ton in glitch text. These 3 pads right here, I use all over the place. They're kind of like a big part of the sound for glitch text. This is a massive, this is from like a preset pack that I got. I'll try to post what that was, but it's a pretty simple pad, you know, and so this is sending to, so here's my pad group reverbs. So it's sending to this hall and this medium hall, and then it's sending to this chamber again. I have this chamber, and then a little bit of echo boy. So really simple effects, and then this other lower pad, which is also it's acting more like a bass, kind of. I think this is from another like preset library, and I might pull in a preset like this and then tweak it. This is probably like a chiptune-ish massive preset pack that I got when I was like building this template and looking for sounds. So that's giving us some of the kind of like fundamental support for the cue. And then also I have this zebra patch, which is just a sub bass. And this I used a lot. Just putting a sub bass under these under things can immediately fill them out, make them sound bigger, make them sound more finished, and you know, it's just like a quick, easy thing to do that can make your tracks sound kind of more polished and give them more oomph and support, make them sound bigger. And most of these, like these pads, I have them assigned to the mod wheel, so I can kind of shape them as I play them, which is really important to create dynamics and to shape the scene as you play through it. So then here, I'm layering it with this other, this is that same BB Mouse pluck, but this one has more of a release on it. You hear out, and it's played in a higher register, but it has a little bit longer decay. So yeah, and I just find, you know, sometimes I'll layer that. It just depends on the situation. And in this case, you know, it's a new part. So when the scene has changed a little bit, that comes in to move things forward and create interest. And to fill it out, because now there's no dialogue happening, so there's more room for the music to open up and take up more space. And then on top of that, I have this kind of bell sound from this UVI string machines thing. This stuff is great. It's all sample based and you can't edit it as much as maybe you'd sometimes want to, but the sounds are great. Let's see if there's anything else in this cue. So that's everything happening in this section, and then let's move forward.
Stupid tech is now signed to my modified.
Okay, so now we still have our pad, and we have that Danger Mouse pluck thing happening.
Thanks, Ridley. Don't thank me yet. I'm uploading some of my custom mods from Fire H4 into your gauntlets. This guy isn't gonna go down. So you can hear, like,
it's a really simple thing. It's a really simple cue. I don't know, maybe too simple, but I
keep things pretty simple.
This show is mostly synths. Like in another show, maybe you'd have strings or orchestral sounds doing this stuff, or guitar maybe. But for this show, since it's about video games, we try to use chiptune sounds and synths. So that's kind of like the emotional palette for the show. Let's see, and you can hear that swell, that kind of bass swell that's happening. So that's just from Mod Wheel Ride, you know, to create that crescendo here. It also has a little bit of this BX sub synth on it to create more sub bass. Okay, so these hits over here at the end of the cue, you can see I have in my comment thing, I usually label what the library and patch is. That just helps me identify it as I go through my template because it's big. And then I have, you know, like a little label here too. So we have this anvil hit, which is Berlin percussion, anvils and break drums. And then this Cineperk, Big Perk, Ensemble Full. Yeah, this is a really useful patch. If you are looking for just like a big perk patch to hit stuff with, like this one is great. I use it all the time. It's kind of like cheating. So that's the whole percussion ensemble doing these big hits together. Really useful. It's Eastern Island hits from Albion 1. I use this thing all the time. It's super useful. Just to put kind of like a big sub percussion hit under stuff. That kind of stuff can be really useful for getting in and out of a part or punctuating something, hitting something. All right, let's continue on. Okay, so we got that Easter Island hit. Got that. And then okay, and then we got and then there's this. Okay. My camera overheated, and so did I, so I went for a swim. That's why my hair has changed, but I'm back. Okay, so on to more hits. So this hit is from Audio Imperia SFTM Volume 1 Hits. I don't remember exactly what that library is called, but if you search on Audio Imperia, I think you'll find it. I have a bunch of stuff like that, kind of like hybrid electronic hits and builds that are really useful for transitions and impact and stuff. So that's that. Let's go back to the top. Okay, so let's go back. Let's look at the drums for this part. Most of my drums for this show are addictive drums. I have 3 kits. I have Basic Dumb 90s Pop Rock 3, which I think was in my Glitch TECHS theme song video too. PNP 80s Kit 3. This was a kit that I made or modified for a show called Pickle and Peanut. It's kind of like a combination of Lind drum and Simmons drums. Here's what this sounds like. I have this harmonics plugin from Softtube on here, which is great for, making things seem louder, and this thing can make things brighter too. And this is, this is the metal shredder kit. This is a modified preset, and I'll layer this kit under other kits to add more punch and definition to sound sometimes. That's the main sound. So here are the 3 kits together. A lot of times what I'll do for this type of scene, because it's got all these hits, like these moments that I want to hit, right, on screen, take the drum kit and I'll just kind of play through. I'll just play it through the scene while watching it, and I'll do that a few times, maybe until I've kind of nailed the hits, and then maybe I'll go back and build a click track or a tempo map based on what I played. Usually I'll play it and I'll pick a single tempo that seems to kind of work, an average tempo, and then I kind of build around what I improvise. Like in that other cue, I start with improvisation and then kind of refine. So those were the drums. Okay, then I have some guitars. These guitars were played into my Kemper amplifier, which is like a fake guitar amplifier. It emulates a guitar amp using convolution. And this was a preset called Trill's Recto Raw 8, which is kind of a heavy sounding preset. And I have 2 guitars playing the same part, and they're panned hard left and hard right. Just like power chords. Easy peasy. And then here, what do we have here? Whoa! Did you hear that terrible bad note? And I left it in because I'm professional.
I don't look back.
And again, I have this lead line panned left and right. Ooh, how dare you. There's that. All right, and then here, so that one has the CLA guitars on it, which I'm using just kind of, it brightens up a little bit, got some delay and the stereo effect, which, I mean, it's panned hard left, so, but it still adds a little bit of kind of sheen. It's got some treble EQ, a little bit of reverb on there, and this compression thing. This is a good plug-in for certain things like this. Bass, this is a DI bass going through my old trusty Chris Lord-Alge thing. This makes all basses sound, I don't know, more like a rock and roll bass or something. Here's the part with no effects on it. And this is just a tuner. I'm gonna turn that thing off. So that's the bass with no processing. Here's the bass with that plugin on it. Sounds much more, you know, like a big rock bass going through an amp. And then back up. So these Dance GTR 2 and 3, these are this really cheesy Nexus, ReFX Nexus plugin from the FM expansion pack, Dance Guitar 1. I use this a lot in this show instead of using like a real lead guitar for a couple of reasons. One, I cannot shred on a real lead guitar, and this allows me to just play it in on the keyboard. Sometimes that, you know, it sounds pretty dumb, as you're gonna hear, but for, it's like chiptune style stuff, I think it's appropriate and it fits, and it's fast and easy for me. So this is really like a chiptune lead. Yep, and then here, and I'm doubling that with this. That one's a little more like a real guitar, but it sounds cheesy. And you put them together, it sounds like this. I have them panned a little bit, but not hard panned. So, like, I'm not a shreddy keyboardist either, really, but I can do certain things. So what I'll usually do with this type of stuff, again, is I'll roll it and I'll improvise and come up with a part. Probably play this in and it was really sloppy. And then I would, like, with some bad notes, like I'll just jam, but the kind of shape will be there and the intention will be there. And then I'll go back in and clean up the bad notes, clean up the timing. Like, this is pretty hard quantized, and then it'll sound good. It sound like I know what I'm doing. Oh, I also layered on top of that is this other Nexus patch, which is from this chiptunes pack called Ringing. This Nexus thing, by the way, a lot of you probably know it, is a really useful thing to have. It's like a lot of the sounds are kind of dorky in a way and stock, but for like this kind of work, when you need to recreate like a genre or just get a sound really quick, it's really useful. And this preset, this Ringing No ARP is the name. This I use a lot in the show. So that's, you know, like pretty chiptune-y sound. This is a really... it's just a useful sound that I use a lot in the show. Let's see, this one is muted. I think it's probably... Oh, okay, so is one of the early attempts at this cue. I think I played that in and then abandoned that idea and ended up with the cue that you're hearing now. So that is old garbage. All right, we have some chimes. This is from the London Orchestral Percussion Mallets, Chimes, Deeg, Rawhide, F, which means forte, I think. This chime thing has been in my template since like the very beginning of my career. I always use this chime thing for some reason, but it's so useful to have this. Gotta have some chimes. All right, and then there's some choir. This is a Sound Iron Requiem Light, staccato full. This Sound Iron Requiem Light. You can choose what syllables you want to have in your phrase, and then it'll repeat those. This is a great, easy to use library. Then we have this low male choir, which I use all the time too. That is Sound Iron Mars Male Choir, Marcato Sustains. These are going to this reverb. This is my choir reverb up here. Mechanics Hall, very good for orchestral sounds and choirs and stuff. Okay, next section. So, So this is mostly strings, right? So for these kind of like short spiccato strings, I tend to layer patches from several different libraries to get something that's as full as I want it to be with the kind of attack that I want. So in this case, I'm using musical samples, adventure strings, staccato, or stock spiccato. So you hear it's pretty sloppy. Like I don't tend to quantize these type of things. For these type of string parts, I will usually perform them in with the keyboard. I'm not the kind of composer who usually goes in and draws stuff in with the pencil in a piano roll or whatever. I'm never in this view. I've never ever used this. It doesn't work with my brain. I have to like play stuff in, then clean it up. That's just the way my brain works. So I'll usually play like string parts like this. I'll play them in and I might clean up the timing a little bit, but I almost never like fully quantize them because it sounds unrealistic to me, which I don't know.
That's what I do, whatever.
So on top of the musical samples one, I have the Strezov afflatus strings here. That sounds like this. I don't know why, just for some reason I never feel like just one of these on their own is quite enough for me. It probably just has to do with like my own limitations as a composer and orchestrator. And then this is LA scoring strings, Ensemble Spiccato, which I've used this forever. That was my main spiccato for a very, very long time. Like all the Gravity Falls was basically those. Down further, this cue is right. It's basically those spiccato strings and a little percussion, or perk, if you know what I mean. Perk. You get it? This perk is Project Sam True Strike Basic Percussion. This has been in my template since my very first project. Like the way the crashes sound and the gongs, like I'm just so used to that sound that like if I try a different suspended cymbal crash or Piatti crash, it never sounds right to me for some reason. So this is what I always use. Rolling off some low end and sending to this Todd AO Hall for reverb. So it's just a little gong. And then this is suspended cymbal roll and crash. If I didn't have, like that suspended cymbal thing is so useful for transitioning. I mean, it's cliche, right? But it works. Very useful. Timpani. This is from the Hans Zimmer Spitfire percussion library. That's also sending to the Todd AO percussion. This is East West Symphonic Orchestra percussion, drums, snare ensemble large. And this is the snare. So this is hosted in Play, that's an old library. It still sounds great, still works for me. All right, then we have another anvil hit. Anvil hits, very useful, kind of cliche. When I worked on Voltron Legendary Defender, they would not let us use anvil hits because they thought it sounded dumb and cliche. I disagree.
Very useful.
That's the Easter Island boom again. Anyways, yeah, anvil hits and big booms. So, is that the same one as this one? So, usually I don't use the same hit like that 2 times in a row. Faux pas. What else is going on in this cue? Okay, so I have some the string trill patch. Symphobia 2, individual sections, string ensemble extensions, trills. So this is a trill. Great for building anticipation and transition. So that's that. And then, let's see. Okay, and then, so on this downbeat, we have a chime on this thing. So like, you know, you gotta hit these big things. Every time the animator puts in like a big white flash like this, I don't think you can see this video because I'm not allowed to show you. If you are seeing this little box with the video on it, then
good for you.
Netflix let me put the video in here. If you're not, sorry, Netflix didn't let me show you the video. Anyways, if you can see it, there's a white flash in here. Like when they make explosions and stuff, they usually put like a frame of like white or something. When there's one of those, you gotta hit it hard, usually. And I'm hitting it with this chime and all this other stuff. Okay, next part. So now we have this riser. Okay, so the main part of this transition is this riser. A really great producer and sound designer named Justin Bates made a bunch of really cool risers in Serum that I can control with the mod wheel. I can control like the rate of rise. They're really useful in this show for just like building to a big action hit or something. So here's what that sounds like. So I can kind of like shape that with the mod wheel as I watch. You can see here, super useful. And then we have Timpani Roll. Also great for building anticipation. And then, you know, drum fill. And then also guitar chicks. Classic stuff, guys. And then there's the bass is doing the same thing. Chuck, 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 chuck. And then we got this little fun action part. So let's listen to that. We got our drums going. Here's our And then we got our dance guitar, we got our cheesy guitar leads again. Here they are. Can't go wrong with the goofy pitch bend. And those are harmonized with each other, which is fun. Okay, and then we got our rhythm guitar, which again, this is a different amp model than our last guitar. This is more, you know, like just like a punk rock, power pop style. This is the Kemper AC 101, so it's what kind of amp is that? AC, I'm blanking. It's the like Beatlesy one, right? I don't know. You guitar nerds out there, tell me what it is. I forgot. I don't know why I can't remember. Anyways, and it's through a Park Fuzz pedal. I don't know if that's right. This might be labeled wrong. But anyways, it's into some pedals. It's my guitar. It's this guitar. Watch the theme song video if you want to hear me talk about this guitar that I know nothing about. Into a pedal, some pedals, and then into the Kemper. So this is the same part, panned left and right. Here's what it sounds like. Trying to remember how I wrote the scene. I think this scene I probably started with the drum part and then played the guitar part over it. Like I've talked about other parts of this. I'll play the drum part, or sometimes I'll start with the guitar part and play along to the scene and watch it and just hit the stuff as I see it. And sometimes I'll put in a couple markers beforehand, like visual markers. In Pro Tools you can put in these markers, right? And then you can see stuff visually where the hits are. And I'll just use that as like visual reference for wanting to hit something. But yeah, I'll play an instrument in and try to hit that stuff, kind of build a map that way from improvising, and then go back and clean that up and orchestrate it. Okay, so that's the guitar part, and here's the bass part. This is the same DI bass into the CLA bass plugin. Okay, we got our hits. So here's. So on top of the kind of rock band instrumentation, I have this. Again, it's the Project Sam basic percussion patch. And this patch just has all your... Can you hear that? Just like the basic orchestral percussion stuff laid out. So that's kind of like a, I don't know, a China cymbal with a piatti. That's those crash cymbals that go like that. So I'm using that to hit, and then also, that's the Cineperk Big Perk Ensemble Full patch, which is really useful and sounds great. All right, then let's go to the next section. Okay, so we have the same rock stuff going. It's our lead part. Here's our guitar part. And then we got some lead guitar under this. Pretty straightforward. And then in our drums. I like doing this kind of like hi-hat thing where it's just like, it's like the drummer is watching the show and just like waiting for something to happen, which I just find funny for some reason. Okay, so then this dude comes in. Okay, so let's check out these things. What do we got? We got this thing again. The Cineperk Big Perk Ensemble Full, most useful percussion patch in the world. And then these drops. So this is kind of like cheating, right? This is Audio Imperia Shredders Volume 1 Stuttered Downers. I have a bunch of this stuff built into this template for this show. They're so useful. That's just awesome. And I was just pressing one button. So it's kind of like cheating, but you know, you got
Do what you gotta do.
Your classic bass drop, that's from the Heaviosity DM307 Dives. Another useful library. Then we got another one of those hits. Crash cymbal. So that's this patch with... That's a Symphobia patch. This is an old patch that has been used to death by myself and other people. It's got all these hits that are really useful for impacts and like, again, it's another one of those things that's kind of like cheating because you just press a button. It's like, oh, that's all I need. But you know, and then this build. Another Symphobia brass ensemble cluster, Project Sam Symphobia. Really useful patch that's been totally overused to death by myself. And then I have this trumpet rip from Tonehammer 8DO Cage Brass. It's like brass effects. This is really useful. Trumpet rip. So those kind of orchestral effects things are great for hitting things, super useful for creating impact and transitioning things and creating accents. For this kind of composing, you can never have too many like little orchestral effects in your template to sprinkle around. Also have this string trem. So this is an old Symphobia patch. This is like my go-to string trem. The crescendo that you hear is from riding the mod wheel. So let's see, that's that section.
I got you.
So then there's this massive pad, Amiga strings. This is a patch that I use a lot in glitch TECHS that I'm also using for this transition in this build. Moving on, next section.
I got you! I don't get it. We're both hitting the guy's weak spot.
That's it! We're both attacking, but the Uber Dragon in Fire Age 4 had 2 weak spots.
So this little piece of score, I'm layering again this serum pluck patch. I'm layering that with these string patches. String spiccato patches. And then the string trem on top of that. And then in the middle, I have this heaviosity gong scrape, which I use all the time for kind of little transitions and accents.
Weak spot.
That's a really useful sound, like a gong scrape. Next section.
The first pot?
I'll wreck the set.
Okay, so we have our old buddy, Cineperk, Big Perk, and then Easter Island Boom. And then, let's see what else we got here. We got a bass. We got our guitars. And then here's what our drums sound like in this section. Kind of like a tom lead beat. Fast hi-hats for fast action. All right, we'll come to that. And then our kind of shreddy, cheesy lead guitar. Fake. That's our cheesy fake lead guitar and our bass. Here there's a wonky edit in there. And this also has this strings happening over it. Not a great part, but it works in the mix. And we got some brass here. This is musical sampling adventure brass. This is a very nice, I think, affordable brass library. Little wrong note in there that I was too lazy to take out. Classic move, Brad. One thing I like about this library is that it doesn't have articulations. You just kind of play it in, and I think it kind of switches articulations based on your playing, which is great. I wish all libraries were like that because I'm too lazy to do key switching, unless I really have to. This is trailer brass 10 horns majestic. And this is Trailer Brass 10 Horns Adventure. Are those the same patch? They might be. They're very, very similar. Maybe I just layered them for volume. I think they're different patches, but they sound so similar. Who knows, man? Okay, this is the Sound Iron Mars Male Choir. Got that. At the end of the section, we have a cymbal, suspended cymbal, swell, and hit. Then our old buddy, Cineperk, Big Brass, and Easter Island Boom. Let's hear the next section. So this is pretty much the same orchestration. We got the same drums, these guitars. That same cheesy fake lead guitar. Here's our guitars again, and I'll throw in the lead at the end. There's that. Here's a lead that goes on top of it. Pretty sketchy. Here's the bass. Then we also have, so we have another one of these risers. I think that's the same riser from before. Yeah, it's just shaped differently. We got chimes. And then we got this trumpet fanfare. That's Performance Samples Caspian 3 trumpets. Really useful. And then I got all these other trumpets too, because I couldn't get enough trumpets. We got our adventure brass here again. This is Cinebrass. Very nice. And then the Cinebrass, this is Cinebrass trumpet with mute. And then leading up to that, we have those same 2 trailer brass 10 horns patches that sound exactly the same. And more. And then that is a Timpani Roll and a crash. And then we have that guy again. I use that thing just constantly in this show because it's so useful. And then you got your boom, and then another. That same hit again? Probably. I guess I used to use that thing all over the place in this show. Okay, and then, so this next part of the cue, let's hear that. Okay, so this again is the serum dead mouse type thing layered with the dead mouse type thing that has like slightly more release. So this is another instance where I would have just played this, and I just played this in live, improvised it to picture, and then cleaned it up afterwards. And this one I might see if it's even to a click. Yeah, so this isn't even to a click. This was the first thing that I played. I just played it to picture and it worked. I didn't even edit it. All I did was layered a couple things on top of it. That's why you should always record, like the first time you watch a scene and you improvise something to picture. Always capture what you played because you never know. It could just be the right thing. So we got those 2 parts together. Here's this one by itself. So I just have a high one and a low one.
And your awesome layer.
And then I have this 8-bit pad called from Massive. Anything else in here? That's it.
I'm sorry about your Uncle Kitty.
And your awesome layer.
So pretty simple.
Me too. Ridley, just come to HQ with me. You could probably build all sorts of new stuff as a glitch tech. You'll just be weird with friends. Trust me, it's better. Sorry, Nico, but you're wrong. You think you have friends now, but trust me, they won't stick around.
And then sub bass patch again, which I'm just using to create tension and swell into that transition. And then we got our buddy Easter Island, and we got the same hit. Are you kidding? Wait, let's see. Is this the same hit? Yup. Oh my gosh, I used that thing 4 times. But you know what? You probably don't even realize that it's the same hit. We got our cymbal swell. Yeah, that's it. So it's pretty simple. All right, so that's the whole cue. You know, pretty straightforward stuff. Nothing like super complicated or technical. Harmonically, it's simple stuff. It's just about, you know, picking the right sounds. You know, there's a couple tricks that we use to create big impacts and scene shifts and transitions. It's really just, you know, about picking the right sounds and, you know, using music to help tell the story. So these scenes aren't huge, dense orchestrations or anything. There's usually a few sounds going on at once. The rock band stuff is just a normal rock band, a straightforward rock band, drums, bass, and guitar with synths on top. Nothing super mysterious in here. That's it. So that was a cue from Glitchmodder. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope it was helpful to see how I put together a cue for glitch techs. If you have any questions about things I didn't cover or any other animation scoring related questions or glitch text related questions or whatever, please post them below in the comments. Subscribe if you would like to see more videos like these. I'll try to make more very soon. Thank you for watching, and thank you for being my friend. Bye!